Hey everybody, it's Ashley Bissett Summerall with Telltale TV. Today I'm really excited to be joined by Joe Minoso from Chicago Fire. He plays Joe Cruz. And we are really excited to talk about season 10 today. Joe, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the perfect pronunciation on my last name.
Thank you. I'm glad that happened. So definitely excited to talk to you about season 10 and about the season 10 premiere. By the way, if you're watching this right now and you haven't watched the premiere, please go watch the premiere first, because we're going to talk about a couple of spoilers. So there's your heads up.
Definitely. Well, now I'm nervous because I haven't seen it yet, so I'm nervous now to. That I'm gonna miss. You're gonna ruin it for me.
I hope not. I hope I don't ruin anything for you. It's a good premiere. It's a really good premiere. People are gonna be excited about it. So obviously at the end of season 9, we left off with a major cliffhanger. All of Squad 3 trapped underwater. Who knows what's going to happen? Can you start by just talking a little bit about what it was like filming those underwater scenes?
Yeah, absolutely. So at first I was actually, back in season 9 when we were told that we were going to be doing this big scuba cliffhanger thing, I was not happy about this at all. Like I have a large amount of respect for open waters, and I was like, oh, this does not sound like fun at all. And I really, I really thought it was going to be really kind of claustrophobic, and I wasn't going to enjoy it at all. Turns out, we ended up doing a lot of training. Like we basically got scuba certified before we ever started working on the episode. We started like 2 months or 3 months before starting to train to be able to do it. And so it ended up being like one of the most amazing fun experiences ever. And, I guess 10 years of wearing fire like an oxygen mask helps you kind of acclimate yourself to the idea of scuba diving, because it really felt similar actually in terms of breathing that forced air. But I mean, it was unbelievable. Like, I mean, the production that we went through to film this thing, there was this huge tank. We had to film on like 3 different locations. We brought in one of like the most renowned camera operators for underwater television, filming at all, and he was phenomenal to work with, and so it was just, I mean, I can't talk about it more. There was huge prosthetic of me that had to be made for certain things, like, which is like, it's funny because our director Reza Tabrizi just sent me a photo of the prosthetic. Well, I guess this doesn't ruin anything. Here, I'll see if I can show you. This will be an interesting little view into the world.
Yeah.
So, they had, for certain elements of the episode, they had to do some prosthetics. So I'm trying to see if I can give you, there you go.
Yeah.
So, that is the work of our incredible effects artist, Chris Payne. And he has just he blew it out of the gate with this one. Like it was so good. And there was just, and being a part of that, like having to be life cast, like that was a first, so it's just like many things on this job. Always, it's like a new insane experience, and it ends as I'm always terrified in the beginning, and at the end I just want to do it more. So when we came back at the beginning of season 10, I was so ready to get in there again.
That's so, because I had a lot of questions about how some of that would have worked underwater, but I guess the life cast that's the answer to...
Well, I mean, what's funny about that is the live cast, in these instances they make these for whatever reasons, like you don't know if they're going to need it for something. But a lot of us have live casts for different reasons throughout the years. But most of it, 90% of what we did was me, and it was us. So, and it's just such a production. I mean, it really, the AD, the producers, like, I've recently started kind of sitting in on a lot of these meetings with producers and directors and stuff, just to kind of get an idea of the inner workings. And they are the magic makers. Like, it's like, yes, we're on the screen, and yes, we are the ones kind of portraying the world, but they're the magic makers, man. It is unbelievable that we make these. I mean, we're like making like movies in 8 days, and it's insane.
So the spoiler, of course, is that the person we wind up being worried about for a little bit there is you. But you're rescued. Talk a little bit about filming that.
Well, first of all, filming anything this season has been short of a miracle. We have had so many weird hiccups and like lightning warnings like 5 times in one day. Like it's like just insane, impossible things that would never happen that have made it so difficult to film. Like I think we finished filming episode 1, which airs tomorrow. Maybe 2 weeks ago. Like it's been so difficult to get it off the ground. But when I got back and I heard about the script, and I started reading through it, and it was like page 3 or whatever, and it's just like me there, lifeless, and I'm like, oh well, that's certainly disappointing. I hope that I get to continue playing this character, and what's great about it is they found something more interesting than just kind of, well, thankfully, killing me off, to explore as a character, and as an actor. And I think we're going to end up seeing a lot of kind of leftover trauma for Cruz throughout the course of the season, because of what he experienced in that boat. And in that, I mean, clearly life or death moment.
Mm-hmm. Well, because we see a little bit of that already. Like there are these moments where Joe is looking down at the mask before he's, getting suited up, and you can just see something's going on there. So that is something we're going to see him kind of work through.
Yeah, absolutely. For quite a few episodes, actually, we're really going to kind of dive into, which is one of the things that I most prefer about our show, is when we have the opportunity to kind of investigate the emotional traumas and the psychological traumas of this job, because I don't think people talk about that enough. And I don't think firefighters talk about that enough. And I think it's important to have these discussions because it happens to so many more people than you would think. And, dealing with kind of emotional and mental issues is such a hard thing to face for any one individual. So I'm really happy that we're getting to kind of help, or at the very least explore, how you face those demons and how you kind of take them on head on.
And something else that I've been noticing with Joe is the relationship with Severide. And you can kind of see, the certain emotion come over him when he finds out what Severide did to save him. They have this kind of mentorship, friendship thing that's been happening more. Talk a little bit about that dynamic. Are we going to see some more of that too, do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I think the situation has put us in a place where Severide has to kind of have more concern for one of his teammates because there's something that just isn't right, and if there's one thing he's good at, it's analyzing his people and making sure that they're as prepared as they can be. And in a lot of ways, you're going to see Severide kind of help Cruz through this issue that he's having in a really great way. Taylor is fantastic. He's great to work with, and it's been really fun getting to explore more stuff outside of just the kind of lieutenant firefighter role that we usually find ourselves in. So yeah, it's you're definitely going to get to see more of Severide and Cruz on that kind of mentorship level.
And then Joe's also getting ready to be a dad.
He is.
Is some of the trauma going to affect that? Will we see some of that, or just in general, can you kind of talk about what kind of dad do you think Joe's going to be?
Well, first and foremost, I would say in terms of the trauma of it all, I think that's going to play itself out more with Chloe than it does with our new child, because if you go back a couple of seasons, Cruz almost lost Chloe altogether because she didn't know if she'd be able to deal with the idea of having to wait for a firefighter to come home from a shift and knowing whether or not they'll make it. So I think that you'll see that play out in a couple of different ways. And then in terms of fatherhood, we really haven't the baby, let's just say the baby is not someone I've been acting with yet. So We haven't had the opportunity to explore what it's going to look like for Cruz being a father. I think just because of practicalities of the world and COVID protocols and stuff, I think it might be a little bit longer than we want it to be before we get to kind of explore that part of the show. But I think you're going to see what you see from Cruz in every other aspect of his life, right? Like, he's such a fully dedicated human being to his people, and he's like, he will do everything and anything he can for them. So I think, given that this is his child, I have a feeling he's going to be that times 1,000, and I really look forward to him messing it up in a million different ways. Like, I just feel like parenthood and fatherhood in general are super, super messy, especially as a first-time parent. And those are the kind of things that I think will be fun to play and explore once we actually have the opportunity to do that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That's really the first time we've seen this on the show too, right? Am I right about that?
Well, you're not wrong. We've, Casey and Dawson adopted an older kid, and definitely we've seen kind of parenthood in general through Herman. But if I believe you're right in that this is the first legitimate like Firehouse 51 baby. Mm-hmm. And that is, I mean, what an honor, right? Like, it's like to be able to say that it's like just in general, I mean, that we've gone 10 years and we've built to this place and is incredible. But yeah, it's a true honor to be able to be the first one to sire a 51 next generation. Who knows, right? If the show goes long enough, maybe my son ends up taking over for me on Squad.
There you go. I like that. Next generation, Chicago Fire.
Totally. Right. Oh my God. I mean, it's so happening. I mean, it's, like when you see like Hanako and Daniel and Alberto together, like, it's like you really see kind of the dynamic that like me and Yuri and Monica had early on, and like me and Yuri and Miranda, like, so and all of us. I mean, it's like there's not one person who's been on this show for more than 6 seasons who doesn't have some sort of bad back or knee or shoulder. That's like, it is a physical, demanding job. Like, it takes out a lot out of you physically. So you see right now already the future of the show in those three, I think. And it's such a joy to watch, because it's like you don't, it's hard to see yourself until you're outside of the thing. And it's like you really kind of see a lot of the same tropes that we explored early on as the smaller characters on the show in seasons 1, 2, and 3. You see a lot of that recurring in these guys, and it's so fun to watch.
Just in terms of the season, is there anything you can kind of tease about what we can look forward to, what we can expect, something you're particularly excited about?
No, but I will say you must watch the 5th episode of the season. It's our 200th episode, and a lot of things are kind of tilting in that episode that are really going to kind of change the shape of the show forever. And so it's going to be a pretty vital episode, and I think you guys, there's going to be some things you're going to love, there's going to be some things you're going to hate, there's going to be a lot in the middle, but either way, it's a can't miss episode. Well, they're really right, they're all can't miss, but the 200th episode is going to be a really, really big one.
Okay. Are you guys having a celebration for 200?
We cut a cake and we did what we could, given COVID protocols and where we are right now in the world. But every day is a celebration on this show, man. Like, it's like, every day is a gift that we have to do this. I mean, the statistic, I think, is something like 43 shows in television history have ever made it to 200 episodes or more. That's insane. And we're in a landscape where the chances of that being repeated now are probably never going to happen. I mean, Matt and PD, clearly they're on their way to that number as well. But I don't know that there are going to be many shows that follow us to that number. So I consider myself very, very, very fortunate to be a part of, in my own little way, you know, this blip in television history.
Definitely, definitely. Well, on that note, congrats on the 200.
Thank you.
It's really big, and 10 seasons. Also, I mean, it's amazing.
It's
Joe,
insane.
thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, my God, it was my pleasure. Thank you so much, and I'll
Thanks.
see you on the side. I'll see you on the next one.
Absolutely. Thanks.
You got it.